is similar to disappointment that kind of like go together. So I'm going to talk about all that today. And I have my laptop over here. So if you see me looking down, that is what I'm doing. So first, I wanted to start with an icebreaker. If you guys would like some. And I'm going to take one for myself. So, gotta get this mouth moisturized for the occasion. These are my favorites, by the way. I always love getting the watermelon ones. I like the raspberry. The strawberry is good. So, that's the tea. Here's one for you. Okay, so the first quote that kind of like inspired this video idea is the quote: "Expectations are just premeditated resentments. Expectations are premeditated resentments." So basically, if we decide to build up a certain image or a certain outcome or something in our head that we would prefer to happen, like our best case scenario, you know, if that doesn't happen, then we are automatically disappointed. We are automatically left upset. We're sad. We're, you know, it feels like we're blindsided. Even though it's an expectation, it is something that we created in our head. It may not even be reality, but because we wanted it in our head to become a reality, we kind of put that on ourselves, if that makes sense. So, this is I'm going to read a couple different things from like a Harvard Business Review journal, and I'll leave the link down below if you guys are interested. But to go along with that, far too many people, when faced with disappointment, tend to attribute negative life events to their personal failings. They resort to obsessional self-blaming as they feel ashamed or humiliated of not measuring up to the image of their ideal self. As a result, they direct their anger inward to themselves. It may prompt them to say that they deserved it, that they were not good enough. Others, however, will turn their anger outward towards others, to people who didn't fulfill their expectations. It will contribute to feelings of spite, vindictiveness, and bitterness. So, yeah, expectations are just premeditated resentment. So we can either resent ourselves if something doesn't go how we wish it would have, or we can start pointing fingers and blaming other people, other, you know, circumstantial things. And then it says, unfortunately, both emotional reactions keep the person stuck in a web of disappointment. In many instances, disappointment can turn into a lingering sadness, a feeling of loss, being let down, or even betrayal. So, I'm definitely experiencing this. It's almost like whenever you feel guilty or ashamed or something like that, or even embarrassed, it's like your forehead gets hot, your face gets hot, you start to feel very like anxious, very hot, flashy. And this happened to me the other day because something that I got my hopes up about, something came back around in my life, and I was like, oh my gosh, yay, how exciting, I'm so ready for this, like wow. And then it ended up not working out, and it has to do with another person and the other person's like cycle that they're in. It has nothing to do with me. I'm still the same me. I'm still, you know, working on my path and growing and evolving and, you know, all those different things. But just because I'm doing that doesn't mean everyone else is doing that. So then whenever that person tries to intermingle with me and we're not on the same frequency of growth or whatever it is, the other person can retreat and disappear into thin air and go away. And then I'm left here at the scene, like, what? I feel betrayed. I feel like, what? But it doesn't have anything to do with me. It has to do with the fact that the other person has their own stuff going on. And, disappointment is not your fault, Like, it is and it's not. Like how I just said, like, we put all these expectations on ourselves and on our lives and all this stuff to, like, perform to a certain way or, like, do something extravagant or whatever. And then if it doesn't work out, we're left feeling like crap. The other part that I wanted to talk about is the fact that some people allow disappointment to ruin future things, because disappointment kind of, makes you put your guard up. It makes you like fight or flight mode. You're ready to go because you've been here before. This shit sucks, and you're like wanting to protect yourself. Like, disappointment leads you to like build shields and walls around yourself. So this quote is, "Don't let today's disappointments cast a shadow on tomorrow's dreams." So how I kind of took this is like, if someone breaks your heart over and over again, don't let that harden you as a person. Don't let that change the way you love. Don't let that change the way you treat other people or treat yourself just because of what someone else did to you or didn't do for you. It's on them. Like, some people don't have a capacity within themselves to give in the same way that you give, or whatever the case may be. So, to go along with this says, "It was much more constructive to reframe his disappointments as learning experiences in order to be able to cope better in the future, and to use disappointment as a catalyst for personal growth. Such soul searching provided him with new information about himself, the world, and others." So basically this just means don't let a singular disappointment or a collective, a bunch of disappointments really get you down and break you down to the point where you're just not hopeful anymore and you're not optimistic, and you start to feel like things aren't possible and that change isn't real, and that all these pessimistic thoughts. We can't allow that to happen. We need to come home to ourselves, relax, take a step back. The pain is there. We're gonna feel the pain. We're gonna really, really feel it, and it's really gonna suck, and it's gonna burden us, and it's going to be heavy to carry. But that is part of the grieving process. It's like a death. A disappointment is like a death because it's an idea that you had in your head that you thought was gonna happen that didn't happen. You have to grieve over that. You can't just go, "Oh, well, never mind," and just keep it moving. Like, that's not a normal or healthy way to, approach it, because that situation could end up coming up later and really hurting you if you don't take the time to like sit with your feelings and feel them out and, validate you in that moment. Let yourself feel however you feel. So this quote says, "On disappointment, don't immediately brush it off. Feel it first, and then it will leave you quicker. Here's the thing about broken glass. It needs to be acknowledged and swept up so you don't step on it later. So deal with it as it's happening. Don't try to cover it up. Don't try to, distract yourself and throw yourself into something else so that you can get over it quicker, because it's still there. It's still lingering. The brokenness is still there. The parts of you that are shattered and hurt and, betrayed and all these feelings, it's still there. And if you don't hold that inner child version of yourself and say it's gonna be okay, I know we were hurt. I know we were just really hurt right now. Someone really let us down. We didn't get what we wanted. You need to be there with that version of yourself. You don't need to be an adult. You don't need to have it all together. You can let stuff affect you, is what I'm trying to say. You can let it in the moment. Feel it out. It's good to have a ready for them to leave. You weren't prepared. Especially if it's like a sudden death or something that's very like, out of nowhere, you weren't expecting it. Even if it is expected, it still doesn't feel fair. And that kind of has to deal with the 5 stages of grief that is spoken of in this particular book by this artist named Kubler-Ross, Kubler-Ross. Okay, my leg, oh my god. I do this in every single video, you guys. So the 5 stages of grief are denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. So I found this article. Let me go to it really quickly. So the first thing that I want to talk about is that we don't move through these stages or steps in a linear manner. There's no, correct way to grieve. There's no, formula for how to get through it, because everybody deals with grief differently. Everybody's pain looks different. And, I'll just be honest. My best friend passed away, and I got over it quicker than anybody else that I was around. Like my sorority sisters, like everyone was in so much pain for such a long time. But for me, it was like only a couple weeks, and I already felt at peace about it, because I know that she was struggling so much with her mental health, and she was so like a fragile, like I just knew that she was better off where she was in life, and I felt guilty that I felt that way. But like, it wasn't as disappointing to me, because I knew this. Like, I knew how much mental anguish she was in, and I knew how hard she was fighting, and how much, mental health help, medication, everything that she was doing, she was fighting so hard. And I knew that battle intimately, being her friend. So it wasn't as big of a disappointment, because you know what I'm saying? So that's just something else. If you guys have something in your life that was like traumatic, or, seemingly like really like sad or disappointing, and you don't feel as disappointed as other people do, it doesn't make you a bad person. It's just the fact that grief and disappointment and sadness and depression, it's on a spectrum, baby. It's on a scale. That's just my point. So let's see. The other thing about these 5 steps or stages of grief is that we might, progress to one. So we might start off at denial, which is, I can't believe it. This can't be happening. Not again. Not me. Why me? Then it moves into the anger phase of, why me? It's not fair. No, I can't accept this. I won't accept this. Why did this happen? And our disappointment like starts off as like, it really hurts, but then we want to like fight back about it, and we're upset, like we're really upset about it, and it says, when we realize that the change is real and will affect us, our denial usually turns into anger. Now we are angry and look to blame someone or something else for making this happen to us. So me, in this situation I just went through, I'm like, why, God? Why is this happening to me again? I've been here so many times already. Why are you making this person come back into my life again, just for them to leave again? It's too painful. It hurts too much. I just can't do it anymore. And then the next stage is bargaining. So this, it says, this is a natural reaction of those who are dying. It's an attempt to postpone what is inevitable. We often see the same sort of behavior happening when people are facing change. We're not ready yet. Oh my gosh, hold on. We're trying to postpone the inevitable. We're trying to prevent the tower from falling. Like in relationships in the past, I would cling onto that shit as hard as I could. I would not let it crumble. And then it inevitably does crumble. And then I'm left completely devastated. And, life is just nuts like that. Life is unpredictable. We are always going to face disappointment. There's not a phase in life where we're not going to face disappointment. Like, it's just always going to, on to the next one. It sucks. Like, I feel like I was wanting to make this video to try to make you guys like feel better and like have like good tips tips and stuff like that, but I guess I'm just mainly making this to like validate you all and also validate myself in saying that like this shit is real. It happens all the time and it can lead to depression. So that's the last phase of this. Oh, this mint is like stuck. Okay. The next stage, depression. I'm so sad. Why bother with anything? What's the point of even trying? When we realize that the bargaining is not going to work, the reality of change sets in. At this point, we become aware of the losses associated with the change and what we have to leave behind. This has the potential to move people towards a sad state, feeling down and depressed with low energy. People dealing with change at work, or just in general, this is just an example. People dealing with change may reach a point of feeling demotivated and uncertain about their future. And then the last stage is acceptance. Like, it's going to be okay. I can't fight it. I might as well, just accept it that this is the way it is. But it's really hard to get to the acceptance stage of anything in life, like completely. And the fact that like none of this is linear, like you could get to like the depression stage, you're dealing with a depression, then you accept it, but then some trigger comes up and then you're like right back at the beginning. Denial, anger, denial, anger, denial, depression, acceptance, and then right back up to the top. Like, our brains are crazy. It's crazy. Also, I'm not a mental health like professional or anything like that. I just wanted to make this video to like express, Okay. So here's another thing that I thought was interesting. So it says, ideally, it would be good to think that we should all reach a place of acceptance in the changes we face, but it is possible that some people get stuck in one of the stages and find it difficult or impossible to move on. So again, everyone's got their own timeline, and it's really hard to like see other people move on like faster than you do, or like if it's a relationship, like if you see the other person, they're with another person already and you're still dealing with the pain and loss of them and they're already on to the next one, that shit hurts. That shit really, really hurts. It sucks. Then another point that I want to make was, it says, some people seek to avoid disappointments by turning into underachievers. They unconsciously set the bar low and avoid taking risks to prevent themselves or others from being disappointed. Without realizing it, they have decided that the best strategy is to not have high expectations about anything. Such behavior turns into a form of self-preservation. However, it also leads to a mediocre and unfulfilled life. Ironically, these people often turn into disappointments for everyone, including themselves. So our bodies want to protect us, our brains want to protect us, so sometimes we're not really willing to take the risk because we know disappointment exists. Like it's like woven into us to like stay in the comfort zone so we don't get hurt, so that we don't, mess things up too bad. We're just gonna like steady flow through life, but then we might be left unhappy and not even enjoying it at all. And then the other thing says, others follow a very different trajectory, seeking to avoid disappointment by becoming overachievers. Although they tell themselves that their expectations of perfection are appropriate and realistic, these presumptions turn out not to be true at all. The bar is set far too high to ever make whatever they want to achieve attainable. They forget that perfectionism rarely begets perfection or satisfaction. Instead, it too often leads to disappointment. So that word begets, they forget that perfectionism rarely actually equates to perfectionism. Like, it's not attainable is the point of that. So it's just this entirely toxic cycle of expectations, disappointments, like it's never ending. And then what I wrote is like finding yourself back in square one, and it makes you feel worse, making you feel even more depressed. So it's like, how do we us. And the only answer that I have to offer at this time is forgiving ourselves for like putting so much pressure on ourselves. I think working on that is probably good, and also not putting expectations on other people is probably another good piece of advice right now. Like, you can't control other people because they have their own trauma, they have their own past and things that hurt them and damaged them and broke them, and it makes their guard go up. So if someone's not letting you in, that could be why, because of their own disappointments. Or in a workplace situation, there are plenty of people that love to abuse power. They're abusing power because they have a past as well. They were hurt. There's stuff that they're dealing with, and the way that they feel like they can get power back in life is by being harsh and rude to other people, or being controlling, or telling you like, oh no, you can't do that. And they're putting themselves on a pedestal, and they're making you feel small because it makes them feel bigger, because they have their own twisted perception, their own twisted reality. We all just have our own individual realities, and whenever you try to force them to interact if they're not meant to, it can kind of just make a big mess. So I think just trying your best to like sit back, relax, and if you believe in God, or trust the universe, or whatever your thing is, like, to trust that there's a reason why everything is happening the way it is. There's a reason why you're not getting a job. There's a reason why you're not getting that partner that you really wanted, or that a relationship is not working out, or whatever the reason is. Just know everyone's got their own shit, and that's really all I can say. So just please, please, please be kind to yourself, be gentle with yourself, love yourself, and just know that this is a very normal human emotion and a normal thing to go through, and that you're not alone in feeling this way, no matter what the case is. And you don't need to compare your journey to other people's in this regard. If some people seem really happy, and if some people seem like they're getting everything they want and you're not, that's disappointing, right? It sucks. But like, they may not struggle as much in certain areas as you do, so it's easier for them to do this, get that, blah blah blah, because maybe they are coasting in life, maybe they are living a more like blah whatever, you know what I mean? Like, they're not reaching their maximum potential, and they're just living at this like weird, but you don't want that. So like, just don't compare yourself. We are all beautiful, we are all amazing in our own way, and we will all get what we want eventually, you guys. It's just about patience and timing, God's timing, the universe's timing, and we're all honestly pawns and players in this game. Like, certain things aren't going to be just ready yet, just quite where they need to be. So a disappointment, it doesn't mean it's a permanent no. It could just be, hey, not now, just wait, be patient, a little bit later. You still have some lessons to learn before you can be gifted and granted this amazing thing, so that's just where I'm at right now, and I just wanted to share all that with you all. So thank you so much for watching this. I hope it was helpful. I know it was really rambly, and I feel like I sounded uneducated at some points, but nonetheless, I hope you all enjoyed it, and I will talk to you in my next video. Bye guys.